me see. There we go. And I guess just a brief introduction. This is the Shoaf family, and they're all in engineering careers at Duke Energy. So we're really fortunate to have all three of you here today. And I'll let y'all get started.
Well, I'll introduce myself first since I'm the oldest of the pack. I'm David Shoaf. I'm with Duke Energy. I'm a senior engineering tech for the Triad region, covering what is called asset design, which is all the larger projects or smaller projects, things that take a lot of extra time.
And I'm Zack Shoaf. I work at Duke Energy in High Plains, Greensboro, working in residential design. So I work on new services for commercial and new homes.
And I am Emily Shoaf. I also am a designer engineer in Greensboro working on new homes.
So I guess we could start, if it's all right with y'all, we'll tell a little bit about either our education and our career.
That'd be perfect. Perfect.
I've been with Duke Energy now 39 and a half years. My degree is a 2-year technology degree from Davis County Community College, where it's classified as mechanical drafting and design technology. I'm not sure that program's still available, but there are still some engineering technology degree programs. During that time, Duke Energy provided a schooling internally where we were classified as a internal graduate engineer for Duke. It took us 8 years of going to specialty schools and classes that the company put on. From there, I went from doing residential commercial to larger projects, city involved, and or highway relocation type projects. And now I'm kind of a reviewer position looking after the new hires and new projects that come in.
And I've been with Duke Energy now for 2 years. I was contracting for 3, so I've been doing this for a total of 5 years now. I went to UNC Charlotte for geography and sociology, and ended up contracting and just kind of falling in love with what I do. So I did larger projects, a lot of DOT related work whenever I first came to Duke, and switched over to residential and commercial jobs at the first of the year.
And I started off, actually, I got my bachelor's degree in respiratory therapy. So this is completely different turnaround for me. My goals were to work in a hospital and go from there. But after working 1 year in the hospital, I decided that's not the route I wanted to take. So I completely changed my career path and started off with a contracting group for Duke Energy. I worked with them for about a year just to gain some experience and see if it was something I was interested in and really wanted to pursue. And then after a year, I decided to move forward and apply to Duke Energy. And I've been working with them for over 2 years now. And I love it. It's exactly what I was looking for. And it's a lot less stress than what I had originally planned in the hospital. So.
That's great.
I guess I could tell a little bit about what I've done or what the job entails. After my degrees from Davis Community College, I started out with the city of Lexington, a town near and dear to y'all's heart, in the water and sewer department, shooting sewer grades. That would be a surveying type job. From there, I was able to go back to Duke Energy, where I'd co-op during some of my school time and take a permanent position. In this career, I've seen travels. If you love to travel, if you love to be indoors, outdoors, this is a great job opportunity. There's jobs within Duke Energy where you can work in around the lakes, around solar plants, around nuclear plants, hydroelectric. The field is vast. So my recommendation is to get your high school diploma, take on a job either as a lineman, training, you can get jobs in with degrees in engineering or water or environmental. The list is long and many, administration. Uh, Duke's a large company. It has a lot of opportunities, a lot of travel opportunities. I've traveled with hurricanes and ice storms. I've went from the tip of Florida all the way to Indiana, Kentucky area. So if you enjoy travel, you get to see some of the countryside along the way too. Um, Opportunities with meeting more people out in the industry world, in the jobs that the three of us are doing and have done. I've worked with people from Thomas Bus, which is a bus company here in the High Point area. It's worldwide. You get an opportunity to see manufacturing, be part of the manufacturing. There's also furniture, which is not as relevant at this time, but it's coming back to this area. You'll see companies like just your normal styrofoam cup is in this area. Dark Container out of the Randleman Asheboro area. They can make as many as thousands of cups a minute. So it's interesting what all you get to see and learn about in this large project of being either a contractor, an engineer, a lineman. We have, like in the area where y'all are from here in the Lexington area, there's furniture, there's PPG Industries, which makes fiberglass, which goes into making upholstery for automobiles and other industries. Medicine, if you like the medicine world, there's a lot of medical research in this area of the triad. So education, willingness to be a plant operator, employee, it's just vast what all you can get into. We deal with what's now coming to this area, some large companies that will transport and send out foods to like the Publix. That's coming to this area new. There's just an ongoing, always learning part of this business.
When you say that you, I'm sorry, but to cut you off, but I had a question. When you say that you are working with all these manufacturers in the area and coming into this area, like what aspect from Duke Energy's perspective are you working with them on?
Joan.
Well, as far as them coming into the area, we're usually, me and Emily will be in the group that's handling more the, I guess, the meter hookups. So we're working on the new services, the new transformers, making sure that they have the facilities there. David's group handles more of the infrastructure, making sure there's enough supply of the capacity for power in the area for the future growth. So they're working on the main lines, bringing them up to where we can have more supply for the area. And then we're working on more of the, I guess, the individual customers, working with them and making sure that they have their services connected and worked out.
Okay. Very interesting.
I just happened to look at one of my little notes. One of the projects that's come in my career time, history books, I don't know whether they've now been changed, but when my daughter was in middle school, going into high school, she came home one day and said, "Dad, did you know that there's going to be a new dam and lake built in our area, and it's in the Randleman area?" I said, "Yes, I know that, all about it." I said, "What part of history would you like to know in advance?" That's how fast things can change in our world. My job at that time was to relocate every line for every house and every business that was going to be underwater.
Wow.
I can say that I'm one of the few people that have stood on the bottom of the lake at the dam, because when it was amazing to watch when they was building the reservoir and dam. They came in and they shifted all the water from the river out into ductile lines and built a what's called an earthen dam upstream, so that if we had a hard rain, or like we've had in the last few days, all the water would be diverted and go around the area while they were building the dam. So I can say I've stood on the bottom of the of the river slash lake 100 feet below water. And I'm not a swimmer, so I can say I've survived it. But since then, the dam has been built, the reservoir is in place. It's several thousand gallons of water. The water from this area serves the Greensboro, Randolph County, and surprisingly, it's tied to the Davidson County water system. So the water can be transported between the water that Davidson Water is using on the Yadkin from the Deep River side in a matter of changing of some pumps. So you'll get to see all kinds of things. That's very interesting. I would have never thought that I would have ever seen a earthen dam built that would supply water to the whole region. So I would like to also maybe tell y'all about too some co-oping type opportunities you can get involved in with your schooling. Some of the jobs that Duke has is in the summer times. We have college students that will come in, work with us, and it's a good way. That's how I eventually ended up at Duke Energy. I co-opted through Davidson County Community College. I was interested in the engineering design world. After a summer and half a fall working with Duke, it turned into I guess you could call it a disease, a love, or whatever, of wanting to get into this field. Enjoyed being outside, inside, and the design side of it. Nowadays, everything is designed pretty much on a computer. When I started, it was pencil, pens, and paper. But the future's there. We're looking at the future being able to work on storms using just your cell phone. Be able to point, click, and tag things, and it'll upload things in matters of seconds whenever you're on site. So technology and future's out there. I'll let the two of them, since they're newer at this, can maybe tell you more about the technology side than I can as far as what they see coming in the future.
Before we move on, can I ask about the co-op opportunities again?
Yes.
Is this something that is only when they are in college, or can they start maybe the summer after they've graduated from high school?
Most of the co-op jobs that are involved in the engineering, they have to go through the colleges. The colleges, usually it's either the freshman year, and if they're in engineering, it's what we will be dealing with, most of those co-op students. There is a lineman school where the people can go to in the area for either for Psych-Tech or Davidson Community College, and those jobs can lead to job opportunities with City of Lexington, Energy United, Duke Energy,
City of High Point.
City of High Point. There's a lot of that flexibility and opportunities out there for people in those fields.
My son's actually at lineman school right now. He just started on Monday. So,
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay.
My question is like, so for like being able to go, like, we don't have to be a certain age to like be able to go, like even after we graduate, we don't have to be like a certain age, right?
Not that I know of it. There's people that have been with Duke, and I'm going to really age them, 50 years. They started when they were 18, right out of high school, 17, 18, right out of high school. They've been with the company now 50 years, and so that's putting them 68. Most of them are getting at that point, they're starting to look at retirement. But yes, Duke will still hire people straight out of high school by applying to jobs online. And you could start out in a field such as a telephone answering position, receiving phone calls from customers, taking requests from customers, and that will lead to, as you want to either co-op or get other degrees, it can lead to advancement and more. And Duke is good about once you get into the company, they love to see people advance. They love to see people get more degrees and want to move up and have a future. So there's a large variety for that. And I guess we ought to open it up to more questions too, because y'all are important. If we don't know what you're wanting to learn more about, then I basically have failed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
If y'all have any more questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, sorry. Now just opened up the chat, so I see that a little bit ago.
I wanted to ask Emily, what did she do to bridge over from respiratory therapy to Duke Energy?
Well, I have had a background. Growing up, I've always been artistic and I've always been good with technology. So when I got my degree as a respiratory therapist, a lot of the skills that I already had of being able to do, like, think quick on your toes, critical thinking, math skills, problem solving, a lot of that helped transition into this new career path, because a lot of what we deal with design wise and engineering wise is being able to address different issues and look at a problem differently, approach it a few different angles. So if I'm creating a design, I already have that kind of artistic design background, but then if you use different math skills and physics and, you know, try different methods and get a lot of actually, you know, bouncing ideas off of other designers, a lot of that has benefited towards this new career path. So being able just to think on your toes and, you know, critical thinking has helped me from a hospital setting. But as far as Duke Energy goes, what I do now is mostly related to new homeowners building houses and being able to supply them with new power sources. And it's been very interesting to see how, you know, all these blueprints on plans and what they have, dreams and ideas in their mind, and just being able to help create that actual house that they're wanting and, you know, serving it with power. So it's exciting to see. You drive down the road and you say, oh, I helped out with that one, or, oh, I helped put in that new grocery store. So it's kind of exciting to see how your skills are now benefiting the community and benefiting maybe not your life specifically, but other lives, and, you know, starting a new home for a family. So it's great to drive down the road and be able to see your new accomplishments now.
Something
Thank you.
that she has not shared with y'all is that she grew up in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and her father was a lineman. This is where it kind of gets interesting. Her father was a lineman for many years, and then the two of them met, and
Right.
and
So being from Pennsylvania, I had grown up and I hadn't even heard of Duke Energy. You know, I was up north there. It's called PPL, Pennsylvania Power and Light. So I grew up with driving down the road with my dad, and he'd start naming equipment, and I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever, let's just get to the movies already and get to wherever we were headed. So I wasn't really interested in what he was talking about, pointing out different equipment down the road. But it's actually pretty ironic now that I've, you know, developed into a engineering designer. It's interesting to see, oh yeah, I remember him mentioning that, or getting different tips from him since he was a lineman and he worked directly with the equipment. It's interesting to see the type of equipment that I'm ordering and adding to my designs he knows all about. So it's quite an interesting turnaround on my side. But
You want to take that?
let's see. I see I can't quite see.
It says, well, what about your information technology programs?
Okay. Our information technology programs, we have internal people that handle kind of like this connections here with the chats. We have people that's in our IT departments, and we have
People working on our softwares that we design with. So we relate a lot of our, I guess, engineering design programs, our we use Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of different software that I guess is utilized in different information that they oversee. So.
And something else that I've had the pleasure of seeing in my career, Duke Energy has its own, on the technology side, we have our own studios. Our commercials are produced internally on a lot of them from Duke Energy's own studios inside either our corporate headquarters in Charlotte or from some of our power plants. So the wide variety of technology that's out there within Duke, every time I turn around, it's amazing just to me over all these years to learn something new about the company. So always be questioning and learning and looking online, and you might be surprised at the type of jobs that are out there for you in a career that you thought, oh, I'll never be able to do that in my lifetime. It's kind of like Zachary at one point was into gaming, and he was able to use that technology to, like what we're doing right now as far as the video chats and technology as far as swapping between screens and computers and cameras. And so
same thing with we've had people that was that we had at the contracting company that we were with that just had Photoshop skills. You know, just having that background in computers. Some of the contract companies, not necessarily at Duke Energy, but for Duke Energy. So we were designing things for them. They had different communication groups, surveying, so many different contracting groups that are out there that work for these large companies, and it's a great way to get experience.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I took my degree. My degree wasn't in engineering, but with the experience and the degree, it made it where I have so many different opportunities in the future just by having a degree and my other skill sets in computers. So anything that you anything that you can of course self-taught, self-teach or anything. So
yeah.
We have another question as far as you want to answer that one?
see, what would I have to do?
So how long basically? So what do you need? And I guess it so the question about how long it would take and what you need to get into the career. So our particular career field, we have engineers and we have engineering technologists. So typically, as far as what I actually most all of us, anything from a 2 to 4 year degree and either experience of going through a contracting company, a co-op, potentially even straight in. It just all depends on what you're trying to apply for and the qualifications that are needed. So even with a 2 year, with a couple years as a contractor, like I said before, I was a 4 year degree. Emily was a 4 year. We had both contracted for a couple of years and then applied for Duke and was able to get in. You also have, it goes back to lineman. You can go straight into lineman school. That takes about 6 months to a year. And then you can go through a contract company or potentially through Duke. There's so many different opportunities, and it depends on what exact field that you want to go into. Of course, if you're wanting to go into like IT, whatever degrees in IT, the thing I know is more certificates with the degree. So if you have anything with C++ or any of the other, I guess, understandings and certificates, that makes a big difference. So it just kind of depends on where you go from and what you're wanting to go into.
And sometimes it is more beneficial to apply directly to a contracting company that may, work directly with Duke Energy, just to see if it's something that you're interested in pursuing. I know that was the case for me, just because I wasn't 100% sure on if that was the right career path to take at that time. But once I started off with the contracting company, that company worked with other companies other than Duke Energy as well. So from there, it kind of gave me a starting point of what direction did I want to take.
And also with the contract companies, kind of like what she was mentioning, there's like with the different groups. So I went into working in the power group. We had a highway group, a survey group, and everything else. Well, I ended up doing highway power. So anytime a highway design came through, which we had a group for, we actually were relocating and working with the power lines with. So all these different companies in an engineering firm for a project, you can have anything from structural to utilities, which is of course includes Duke Energy's your communication spectrum, AT&T, North State. Then you have of course city gas, or I'm sorry, PNG or another gas company. You have environmental groups. You have water, sewer, so civil and electrical. There's so many different possibilities. There of course is still use for mechanical in what we do. We have a lot of generation, transmission. So there's just so many different things that you can get into. And they of course have their own set fields, but it just kind of depends on what interests you the most. Same thing with, it's not directly with us. At some point, power connects in any of these different growth aspects of a business, trying to build or anything. So you're working with multiple different areas.
So
I see another question was about being able to work with electrical appliances and machinery. Our job is to understand how these things work. I would maybe go to a power plant or a company, and they will go through what all their machines are as far as the horsepower, the voltage, how it operates, and we'll accumulate all that information and size the right appropriate service and transformer. As far as working with the appliances, that's more on the residential or the electrician side, which we deal with electricians and plumbers and heat and air and builders. So you get a large variety of learning and understanding what goes into making that plant operate. The hands-on, our hands-on is more the mental understanding of the job. The line technicians, their hands-on is they will connect up these services. They will help them troubleshoot. There's all types of equipment that that's on our lines that take electronic technology and combines it with electricity, and our system will communicate. It's amazing how fast microseconds a what's called a fault, where something is shorting out, will happen on the line. A device will see it open up, and when you see the lights blink, if they blink like 3 times, on the 4th time usually your lights go out. That technology is sitting there and it's going, okay, I'm trying to clear the fault, I'm trying to clear the fault, I'm trying to clear the fault. It's still there. Okay, off goes the lights. That's so no one will get electrocuted or damage the equipment. That type of technology is going faster than, I guess, than we're talking about now, because there's always somebody inventing something new that will help save either equipment from getting burned up or keep the lights on. If it can operate and it can clear itself, like burn a lemon too, and the lights stay on, that's what we want. That way you're not waiting on someone to come out, refuse the line, and get your lights back on. So there's new technology all the time people are inventing. You as a high school student may come up with an idea and you're going, well, that's kind of crazy, that's kind of silly. Someday it might be reality. That's the art of never giving up on your ideas, dreams, or thoughts, because what to you may seem like a great idea could turn into a brilliant idea and be part of this computer world or system world.
So we have 2 questions.
2 more questions here.
The first one says, do they require certain degrees? Certain areas do require certain degrees. It just depends on the application process and what is posted for that job. I know that certain areas require just years of experience, and then it's on the job training. Some require certificates of a certain, for a specific type of, like, I don't know if
educational background.
Yeah. But then other job titles like engineering do require a degree of some sorts in engineering. But many, if you're looking for like a engineering tech sort of job, a lot of times you don't require a degree. Sometimes it's just years of experience and if you have any sort of certificates. But then the next question says, do you have a certain procedure to follow in case of injuries?
Yes. As far as the procedures in case of injuries, number one is safety. You have to look after yourself and also the public. So number one is making sure everything is de-energized if for some reason something has happened, to make sure everyone's safe. If it's involved in a car accident or anything else, yes, we have protocol for that as far as who to call, how to call, and make sure 911 is called first to help take care of the person.
Even down to the office level, our meetings start off with where the exit is and every little safety detail that you can imagine. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it seems a little excessive with how many safety protocols it is, but you never can be too safe to make sure that the biggest thing that we initially was taught is, you want to go home just the way that you came. You don't want to be injured. You don't want to be, having any kind of problems, and you just want to make sure that, safety is number one. So it goes into literally every aspect of what we do, driving to office, sitting, even at a computer, making sure that there's no bags in the floor to build a trip over. So there's just so many little protocols that just, that's just making sure that you take care of the employees and goes back to the public also that you serve. Was even on the damage level of like what a storm can do. So many people will be out kind of wandering around after a storm, and there's potentially live lines or something else that we find, and we just have to notify and make sure that people are safe and staying clear, so we can take care of those situations properly.
The engineering department does a lot of storm scouting. So anytime there's a big storm like the ones that we're encountering in Alabama and areas around the world right now, we will get called out on storm scouting. So we as scouts will go ahead of the crews to repair. Well, the crews will be doing the repairs. So as scouts, we go ahead of the crews and we look to see where the damage is. If we find a energized line that's down on the ground, we're supposed to, tape off the area, make sure that it's flagged, stay on site, and make sure that there's not any sort of public hazard, so that if somebody was walking their dog or kids playing in the yard, they wouldn't be near the energized line. We would have to stay there until the crew could get there to repair it. So there's lots of different situations that we encounter that we have to follow certain protocol and procedures on. It's just, we take it one day at a time.
And along that same line, along with safety, we now have a device that will light up, set off a signal whenever we're in the approximate area of any kind of energized conductors. So technology and equipment has come a long ways compared to when I first started. Now we have a device that you're wearing that will alert you. So yes, along with safety, as far as for injuries, that's something that's going a long ways. Let's see, is there another question? Mm-hmm. Okay, that was about the injuries. Anybody want to come online and ask a question too? That's available if that's all right with this.
I wanted to ask Zachary a question. How did he switch over from his degree at UNC Charlotte to Duke Energy?
Well, I took a couple years and tried to figure it out, and finally found a contracting position. Some of the times with contract companies, there's a higher demand than what's supplied, that they're able to find people, so they're a little bit more open. So just having the degree in geography kind of was related. And my sociology course, dealing with people and understanding, because a lot of what we do is talking with people. So especially now, before, whenever I contracted, I was kind of handling more of just kind of being in the office, learning what's going on, and designing on the computer using a program MicroStation, which basically is a different version of CAD. So I was really good with computers. So just sometimes having to go to a company and saying, I have a degree, I have experience, I know this, that. I don't have experience in this field, but I can learn it. That's the biggest key, is just being confident and knowing what you are good at and learning what you do not know. So all the unknowns, of course, if you're good at learning, you can pick it up, and it's just about having someone give you an opportunity. And luckily, they had a higher demand, and it was a new company that was starting, and I was able to get a chance and work my way in. And then from there, I just used my computer knowledge and just overall, I guess just the confidence grew, and eventually it landed to where after a year and a half, I was actually checking our other designers' work, and I was just training people. And sometimes the best way is while you're learning to teach someone else. So it kind of just sticks that way. So just absorb everything you can, going from whatever you're trying to go for into any job, just being confident, utilize what you have. That's one of the biggest things that our group has. We have people that I work with now, has been with the company forever. They're really good at one thing. I may be better at this, they're better at this. Our group molds because we all discuss and interact. So being able to talk with coworkers, and it's just getting the idea across that you're easily, you can communicate easily with people, and just, that's what most companies are looking for. So it doesn't matter what you get into, just be confident and, push what you know. Because like I said before, we had a person that came in with just having a Photoshop background. He was working at Subway. He ended up actually picking it up and everything else, but he had a 4-year degree. He came from a different country. So he was just working his way, trying to find something. He had computer knowledge, and we seen that. And we're like, okay, hey, we can train you. And we brought him in and we trained him. So it's just all about finding the right opportunity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to block off certain areas and you can do certain conditions.
And that's really
You see that?
Okay, yeah.
So like I would take that as like a daily. So the question about blocking off areas due to certain conditions. So on a daily, there is a work site. So if there's a truck on site, they're doing their normal everyday work. We have to have flaggers on certain roads. We have to have certain protocols. They have to have logs of whoever comes in on site. So we as engineers actually go meet a line crew on site, and we're actually in the work zone. We actually have to sign in and basically state that we're there, and we sign out. We have to have the daily safety discussion. They have a talk before they leave the lot, and then they have one on site. They have, if something changes based on what they're doing, they have to break down and they have to have another meeting. So all these sites they try to keep as secure as they can to be able to make sure that what they're doing does not affect anybody. Same thing goes in the storm. If we have or even a person hitting one of our poles and the lines are hanging off the poles, they have to make sure that we have fire department, police. We coordinate with them to make sure that the area is secure while we're working, because of course some of the things that we have things in the ground for our underground circuits, but we also have things overhead. So if we have things that are hanging above your heads, obviously you don't want to be standing under them. So there is a lot of different ways that we make sure to contain the area.
What kind of training would you have and do? Training in regards to getting hired for the company?
I'm not sure what type of training you have to have is one of the questions on the chat board. That can be as far as coming into the company, and or we do have a lot of internal training. Before we would release, I'm gonna say Emily or Zach, out to scout lines only by themselves. There's a lot of mentorship training, so some of that goes into it. So you're not left 100% like your life depends on it. So our goal is to, like in any of the new hires situation, before they go out and would scout a line only by themselves, probably up to a year, they'll go with a more experienced senior person and ride along. We would utilize them using the laptops in the vehicles as far as pulling up the outages, all the information in the area. And then as a senior person, I would show them things to be watching out for to make sure you don't step into a hazard, become the problem yourself. and make sure everybody around you is safe. So there's a lot of mentorship and training that goes into our jobs. I'm so sorry. But
Same thing goes with it whenever you come into a company. So you usually sit with someone whenever I first started, and just kind of learn kind of over their shoulder, go to the field, watch them design. Later, as I became more of the trainer, I tried to break it down, and we had more 3 and 4 people at a time being hired, so we had more class sessions.
Right.
So we actually had a little bit more time as contractors. So we put people through about a month's worth of just kind of in class, even basic knowledge things of pole diagrams. This is a cross arm. This is a pole, and we would just go down the list and make sure that they understood what's connected to other things. Because a lot of the people that we did hire, even people that had degrees, had no clue how power systems work. So you can be an electrical engineer and not understand exactly how the distribution or transmission generation side of a company works, versus you understand the circuitry and what an open and closed loop is, etc., as far as electrical. So you understand the concepts, but you're not understanding the real world physical part of seeing a print in hand or seeing a pole and what those little items are called, all the way down to the nuts and bolts. So there's a lot of different internal training that takes place because it's just a lot of information. Same thing with what those things all relate to how you order parts. We order parts, we design prints. So it's just a lot of training overall, I guess, especially once you get in.
I would say the very first 2 months of being hired at Duke Energy, they make a plan of what training classes you need to attend, and they're really good about answering any questions you have and going through different slideshows and different situations and scenarios. They teach you all of the basic knowledge right as firsthand when you start the job. So they don't just let you off on your own
or expect you to know it.
Right.
Yeah.
They have training courses for you already planned out when they hire you. So don't feel like, oh, if I apply to Duke, I should expect to know this, and this. They'll train you on the spot for the first couple of months before they establish your role in the company.
Along that same way, I was going to mention, in this COVID world with masks, as y'all are probably wondering, we are separated. The camera is deceiving, I guess, of distance, but we are separated. The part of technology right now, y'all have a great advantage to learn how to learn online, see and follow what your teachers are giving you from a computer. You can ask questions like what we're having here on the chat. I'm sure you're able to communicate live and in person with them. But all that is another aspect to the real world, the work world. As far as like when y'all were asking about, I just now remembered something else about the co-op world. Davidson County Community College, I'm gonna give them 100% props on this. When I was there, which was many years ago, but it's still the same today, they are out there helping find their students co-op jobs. If you really, really need it, you just have to communicate and connect with some of the different departments there. But when I was there, out of the 30-some people that was in the program, they found us all co-op jobs for those that was needing something financially to be able to help pay for our schooling. And I've got to give them credit for that. I was able to work at PPG Industries one summer. Sounds like a glorified job, but my job was to go through the whole plant, following water lines. So I would go through the furnace areas, the air conditioning cool areas, the dusty, dirty basement areas, but it was a lot of opportunities to learn. So a lot of the college training that you get is nothing compared to the opportunities, because we went on field trips, we learned about other businesses. So while I was in high school, my my love was architectural drafting and design. High school I went to had a program where for the 3 years I was there, I had an opportunity to take drafting classes and be able to design a house. Some of the houses I designed were unreachable, but it's part of that dream world. The vision that you get, the things you can learn in high school that will help you between your sciences, your maths, your electives are unlimited to what you can do in the future.
May I ask?
Yes.
So like, is it common to have to collaborate with like other people that are out of your expertise?
Very common.
Yes.
To collaborate, yeah. So obviously working with builders, I don't have any architectural background at all. But see, working with them, it helped me in my own personal life as well, not just in my career, because I work directly with them almost every day, see the types of houses that they're building, learn all about different types of structures, and far more than I ever would have thought. So then when I was ready to build my own house, I was like, oh, well, I saw this house did this. That's great. Let's incorporate that into our house. Or you learn so many different trades working with the other companies and other groups, even though we are not, specifically in correlation with plumbing or, I mean, even the electrician side of things. We stop at the meter base and the electrician handles it from there. But there's so many times that the electrician says, oh, let me show you how, like this or that. And you just learn on the job other trades as well, just from being in, working with them on many different projects.
Even customer based. I mean, I've
Right.
had one that we had to change out a transformer, and it was a metal scrapyard. Basically, they recycled metal, and they had stacks and stacks of cars that you could not believe how tall they were. And they basically would sit there and just had a big crane. It would throw it up on a conveyor belt, and you would see just particles coming out the end of it, and it was just shredding through cars. So like I never seen that process. So there's so many different things that how they operate, you get to, I would say our job, since we're kind of part of what everyone does, I mean, you can't really think of too many things that is without power. We interact with so many different experts on what they're working on, designing, even what they're building and manufacturing. I got to tour a CNC shop. This customer was needing power for their big water jet cutting machines and all the different kind of machinery he had in there. He basically gave me a tour of what they did, all the way from building different ladders to making stock cars for racing. So there's so many different things that you get to see and get to interact with different um, areas. Even if you're not in it, you kind of get the enjoyment of what they do because you're just so well rounded and because you're kind of centralized in what everybody's doing.
And mentioning racing and vehicles of that type, I've had the opportunity to work with about 4 or 5 different race teams in this area over the years, and so sometimes it's fun to be able to sit back and go, oh, I was part of that new building technology. From the standpoint, we provided power that they needed to be able to produce this race car, and you can see the actual product on the track win a race, and you're sitting there going, I guess in a roundabout way, I was part of it. So the world of technology and jobs is endless in this area. If you love to work on a vehicle, you can either go and get a degree or maybe go and work for one of these companies. I'm going to call it a company like RCR Children's Racing here close by Lexington area. You may be able to get an opportunity to start out by mowing the grass there. I know people that's mowed the grass there and been able to move inside, and now they're part of the race team. You never know what you will learn or where you can go.
Or the interactions that you'll make with other people.
Correct.
That's the biggest.
Yeah.
So just being able to talk with people and just kind of understand what they do, kind of get yourself out there, just it goes back to being confident in what you do, just being able to talk with people, see what they do, interest. We're always out and we always, are interested in what others are trying to accomplish because of course it's helping us do our job, but overall it's just fascinating.
Thank you. Also, does the job require does it require for you to like travel most of the time, or like even at all?
Sometimes.
It depends on what field you're into.
Yeah. I know that mainly our main traveling is involved with storm duty. So anytime there's a big storm, they ask for travel teams to do the scouting, like I had mentioned before. So that's the majority of where our traveling would come from. But the rest, as far as what Zach and I do, we are designated to a certain zone area, and any work order or job that pops up, any new construction within that area kind of directly gets assigned to us. So we're kind of the overseers of the whole area is split up into different designers. So it just depends on where the construction falls into play on that sense. But as far as traveling, there's always the opportunity to travel for different storms, whether it's locally or, I mean, we've gone down to scout storms down in Florida. David's been hundreds of places. So it just depends. There's always that opportunity to have new experiences and learn and encounter different situations. It's both exciting and sometimes nerve-wracking, but you never know what you're going to come across. And if you're the type of person that likes to travel for storms, then this might be something you might be interested in.
Sometimes it's places that you would not expect that you get to go.
Right.
The nicest place that I've ever was able to go was the Gaylord at the Palms down in Orlando. It is a very nice resort, and that's where we ended up staying. And there was a hurricane, of course, that was going over top of us, but luckily the structures that they put us in typically are very, very weatherproof as far as, but these are massive complexes. So there's just so many different things that you get to see that you would not normally just say, hey, I'm going to go there. Even we've worked out towards Tampa Bay area in Clearwater and the resort that we stayed that side, because you got to think in Florida, there's not a lot of hotels. There's a lot of resorts. So you have to stay somewhere. So whenever we would get off work, luckily there was a day or two that we actually would be able to get back and you would actually be able to see the beach. So, it's just fascinating of like all the little places. Now, of course, you do not get to go to the beach like you normally would, but still just seeing it is kind of nice because even the crazy destruction of what a hurricane does, it's devastating. It's almost like terrible to see, but at the same time, it's fascinating because of what a storm like that can do. You know what you're building and engineering, what it's supposed to be able to withstand, and then here comes a storm and it just wipes out everything you just did. So it's very interesting to be able to see things that you normally would not get to see.
And I know we've talked about the wonderful parts of a hurricane. Ice storms, I've been to the Midwest and seen what ice can do. And along the same lines of safety, Duke looks after us from that standpoint. We're all the time changing. Whenever we ended up there, we ended up with what's called ice cleats. Never wore a pair of ice cleats in my life until I went to the Midwest, Indiana, Kentucky area. Ice is so thick and so slick and so far in between points of dry land that you had to have something to keep yourself standing up. So from that standpoint, you get to see a little everything, but it's also amazing to see how pretty it is when it's glistening on the trees. So if you love to be outdoors, look for jobs outdoors. If you love cold weather, look for jobs in cold weather. If you love to be in hotter climates with oceans and seas and any of the above, then look for those locations. Look for things that will keep you interested in a career that you can learn and contribute to your family.
And if you like indoors, there's many things that you can do indoors.
And if you love indoors, there's even within Duke Energy, there's power plants that you'll work indoors 24/7 if you needed to be. So the job world is out there. Just try to always remember, strive to look for something that interests you, and never give up on some of those dreams, because you never know what or where it will take you.
Thank you.
Yes.
This has been really good. We appreciate it.
Well,
Absolutely.
yeah, whatever time y'all need us to stop. Sometimes I've been known that I can talk for days, and these two know it, and everybody else knows it.
Your daughter may or may not have said that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I probably told y'all that y'all would have to cut me off and just let me keep talking. So yeah. But
This has been
I've
great.
always enjoyed this part of interacting with students. Duke had a program many years ago, before most of every one of y'all were ever born. Well, I know probably before every one of the students were born.
Whenever I was in school.
Whenever Zach was in school, we would travel around the schools, and we had this character named Zach. He was a little blue guy. In case y'all didn't realize it, I'm not but 5'4". I may look bigger than that on the screen, but I'm only 5'4". So usually the outfit fit me the best, so I was Zach. He was a safety character, and we tried to, within the school system with second graders, we would travel around and would give safety talks. Now Zach has been retired. He is now in our power plant location down towards Greenville, South Carolina, one of our nuclear plants. You can tour there, and Zach will greet you at the door. It's one of them programs, though, that we've started out trying to teach kids about safety. We had a traveling power show of how what all would happen as far as the lines if something would fall on the ground. It was a little small 3x5 demonstration box. We could pop up little power lines and have little kites and other things that would fly into power lines. So yes, nowadays everything can be online. So
To add to that, there's actually a lot of, so the wonderful thing that y'all are getting to go through school with is YouTube. So there is actually Duke Energy live demonstrations on YouTube. There's different things with transmission. There's so many different things in video now that you actually can just go watch and see, and it's fascinating. I mean, that's part of how we learn. We just would go on YouTube and just like look at things because it's something that's related, but that's a great thing that you get to kind of live through is the video era. That started whenever I was in school. I wasn't in school that long ago, but it still has changed in the past 10 years. So that's something I would always recommend. And that goes to anything that you're looking at. It's just, there's so many things out there.
Any other questions?
Anybody else? All right.
I think someone is.
I think you're still on mute.
You're still on mute. Who is young lady?
That's Alex, I think.
Okay.
Alex, did you have a question?
No, I think
Okay. All right. Well, if nobody else has any more questions, speak now.
Okay, I wanted to ask one more. I wanted to ask Emily where she went to school in Pennsylvania for respiratory therapy.
I went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania. So it's in Pennsylvania, but it's a town called Indiana. So it's kind of odd, but they had a respiratory program in Pittsburgh. So I did technically it's a full 4-year degree at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, but my junior year and senior year were off campus at a respiratory school in Pittsburgh.
And how about your visit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
She has it also. Y'all talking about travel and visit?
I will mention that.
She-
Okay.
She needs to mention something
The
about her
school
college.
that I went to had a program called National Student Exchange, which was an amazing program because my sophomore year of school, I enrolled in this National Student Exchange program, and they said that you can pay the in-state tuition and go anywhere that has this program, to any school that has the same program. So my sophomore year of college, I paid to go to IUP, but at the same time, I actually lived in Hawaii, because University of Hawaii, Manoa, had the National Student Exchange Program. So I said, well, if I'm paying the same amount of money, why not go to school in Hawaii? So that's a good tip. If you end up going to a school that has this program, I would suggest looking into that, because it was the same amount of money. You just got to live somewhere beautiful for a year. So I took the same classes, same gen ed classes for basic, my basic schooling degree that is required, and just lived in Hawaii for the year. But there's definitely, that's you got to look into the different opportunities that your school provides. So
That's been very
Thank
helpful. Thanks. All right, then. We really appreciate your time, and we may end up hitting you guys up again sometime.
all right,
Anytime.
not a problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and y'all have a great weekend. We appreciate it.
All right,
y'all
thank
too.
you.